Hi, this is Stu with So Wizard Podcast, and I am being joined by Jon Allen, the creator, the writer, and artist of The Well. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How has New York Comic Con been treating you this weekend?
It's been cool. I'm just here for today. So I've been walking around. I got lost a couple of times. It's massive. I hadn't bought anything yet, but still got a few hours left to throw down.
Absolutely, it is very large in the Javits Center, so I completely understand getting lost. There's nothing wrong with that, nothing to be ashamed of. Let's talk about The Well. This is a book that I devoured over 2 nights. A very entertaining, very well-written book. What can you tell us about it?
So it's part of this kind of extended universe that I've been exploring for a while, called Ohio is for Sale. So it's my fourth graphic novel. So I have all these kind of this little cast of characters, these kind of interconnected stories, and each book kind of focuses on like a different thing, but it's like suburban dirtbags in the 90s. And so The Well is my latest book, and it centers around a young woman, Veronica, and she's kind of like stalled out. She's dropped out of college. She doesn't know what to do with her life. And then her boyfriend leaves for the summer to go, or spring or whatever, to go on tour with his band. So she takes his place over and she gets a new job. So she's like on her own, kind of like taking sort of ownership of her adulthood for the first time. And so she starts this job. She's a programmer in this corporate environment. And then it kind of, it opens up onto this queer romance thing. And then she also discovers this like John Carpenter, like Lovecraft horror kind of happening in the basement. So it's this sort of, I don't know, very like expansive moment in her life that she has to kind of learn to navigate.
It's very interesting. What were your inspirations for The Well? What did you draw from? What did you read or watch that made you get the germ of an idea for this story?
Yeah, I think like the two kind of pillars. I don't know why, but early on, I loved David Foster Wallace, the novelist, and so his last book, The Pale King, is about like tax offices, like the IRS in the 80s, and it's just like it's about like the banality of this, but how like vivid that banality can be, and like I remember like being in those kinds of spaces, before COVID, and I was like, what if I took the Pale King and threw a bunch of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff in there, and it just kind of like got like mixed in from there. But like I love like Philip K. Dick. I don't know what else was I reading. And then, like stylistically, like I look at like James Kachaka a lot. Like I look at like Scott Pilgrim, stuff like that.
Yeah, this book reminded me very much of Scott Pilgrim when I read it, with the 20-something-year-old who's kind of out of sync with the rest of the world and in life and trying to figure out what she needs to do with herself. I have to say, reading this book, I think Dave and Persephone have entered the annals of my favorite characters ever. I mean, they are so wildly entertaining. What are some of your favorite characters from fiction?
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like I go right to Achewood. I don't know if you're familiar, but okay, it was a web comic. It's back now. It started in 2001 and was like a very popular web comic for over a decade, and then I think he stopped in like 2014 and then picked it back up in the past few years. This guy Chris Onstad, but I think he's like the best writer in comics, and it's his characters are just like so like well written, like so believable, and like so funny. Like they just become your friends. So yeah, Achewood. I don't know what else. Yeah, I don't know. I go back to David Foster Wallace, like Hal and Candenza and like Infinite Jest. I think of. I don't know. I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that. It's a hard question to think of. There's a lot of fiction out there I'm sure you've indulged in over the course of your life. And speaking of your life, have you always wanted to be an artist and a writer? Is this something you kind of came into later in life, or is this something, a passion of yours that you've always pursued?
Yeah, no, I started drawing comics when I was like 5. I've been doing this like my whole life. Like I was making comics in high school, and I was like really excited about it. And then, I got like an illustration degree, but I was always drawing comics on the side. Yeah, it's always been a thing for me. So, yeah.
All right, well, I want to wish you the best of luck with The Well. Everyone should read this book. It's very entertaining. Like I said, it's a big book. It's not light to say that I tore through it in 2 days, but I tore through it in 2 days. Very entertaining, and it deserves to be read by the widest audience possible. So thank you very much for your time today, John.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir. And you will hear more from us later on. Thank you.